Although I've been rotting in the house because you already know I'm a homebody at heart and shit like that, I came across another revelation as of recently, and that is, where would society be without fiction? At first, I can't even lie to you, I just thought it was one of those thoughts that sat in the back of my mind and stuff like that. You know, one of those random ass thoughts you just be having and shit like that. But I feel like the more I replayed it, the more I realized how foundational it is. Because without fiction, without the act of imagining, we wouldn't just lose stories. We'd lose everything that makes us human. We live in an era that's obsessed with truth, but ironically, everything we call real began as fiction. Even love, like the way we define it and the way that people romanticize it, the way that people just chase it in general. I feel like love is a story that humans wrote to give chaos meaning. So without fiction, there'd be no creativity, no faith, no purpose, just plain existence. Because ultimately, we were born into make believe, even from childhood and stuff like that. Before we were even aware that we were even fucking alive. We used to daydream about living in a castle and a whole civilization with a big booty white girl in our corner for emotional support. Whoever said they ain't do this, just assume that they're lying. We, yes, you to the person who was watching this, we all used to be snow bunny warriors. Fiction let us process fear before we even had the words to even name it. Hence to why they say fear isn't exactly an emotion, it's an illusion, but that topic is for another video and stuff like that. And that instinct never left. I feel like it just evolved. We kind of worship stories the same way ancient people worship gods. I know that sounds crazy, but at its core, fiction is kind of worship. Not of something divine or anything like that, but of the human capacity to create meaning. So when people say it's just a story and stuff like that, I think it's everything. I can't even lie. Our sense of morality, our sense of purpose, and progress all kind of stem from stories. Fiction is how we understand the world when the truth is too complex to face directly. When we watch peak shows like One Piece, emphasis on peak by the way, I feel like most of us see our own reflection in the show itself. And that's what makes a lot of people like it in the first place. Or even just anime in general. Now, I don't want to limit that down to just One Piece. We're fascinated by the questions that they force us to confront. What does freedom mean? If you can recall back to when Bartolomeo was trying to start the Straw Hat Fleet and realized that Luffy being the king of the pirates was all about being the freest person in the world, instead of having all the power in the world. What's the cost of peace? This was also represented in Bleach when Aizen decided to just backdoor all his niggas on a random ass day. All for his agenda to reach the Soul Palace and become the Soul King. Because he already knew that nigga Yulbach was on they ass and he was gonna be jumping out the gym on them niggas in a couple of years. Which he did, but Ichigo sat that nigga down. So yeah. And granted, I don't blame Ichigo for stopping that nigga, but hey, that did result in his OG looking like an action figure. Call a spade a spade. Fiction disguises the truth so we can handle it without breaking it down. It's like medicine wrapped in sugar, if I should say. The only way to swallow something bitter. And fiction doesn't just teach us, I feel like it also connects us. Like, for example, when you read a line in the book and you think, damn, this shit hit me a little bit, you feel me? You realize that someone, somewhere, put your emotions into words before you could even properly articulate what you were feeling at the time. And when you think about it, the human brain has been telling us the same stories for thousands of years. Only the costumes have changed. And today, that same myth making literally happens through film and music. A Marvel movie is just modern mythology with CGI instead of them niggas using stone tablets and shit like that. Lil Uzi Vert Love is Rage 2 is an epic poem in 808s. Peak music, by the way. We laugh at fiction like it's separate from us, but it's literally how we process the ridiculousness of us being alive. Fiction keeps us tethered to imagination, and imagination keeps us tethered to hope. Without stories, we wouldn't dream. Without dreams, we wouldn't build. And without building, humanity would have ended a long time ago. That's just how I feel. Every piece of progress began as a piece of fiction someone dared to believe in. Fiction isn't just entertainment. It's a rehearsal for reality, if I should say. It's where ideas are born before the world is ready to hold them. That's why the line between fiction and reality is so goddamn thin, because one is always catching up to the other. Even in religion, the oldest and the most powerful form of fiction continues to divine civilizations. And that's not an insult. Fiction becomes belief, belief becomes behavior, and behavior becomes history. We're essentially living inside the fiction. The fiction gift also does come with a shadow, I can't even lie to you. The same imagination that builds worlds also traps us inside them. We've created virtual lives that often feel more fulfilling than our real ones. Exhibit A. And yes, this is a real picture, by the way. We live miraculously through characters and influencers, sometimes forgetting that our own stories deserve to be written too. It's ironic. We created fiction to explore humanity, yet sometimes it becomes the reason we detach from it. Or maybe, just maybe, fiction needs to tempt us to pull us between illusion and reality, because that's where the growth happens. Without fiction, we'd be static, I guess, and with too much of it, we'd risk becoming hollow. The balance is what defines our maturity, knowing when to dream and when to act. Because fiction doesn't exist to replace life, it exists to remind us how alive we are. So when I ask, where would society be without fiction? I think the answer is vague, but also kind of simple. We wouldn't be society. That's just how it is. Fiction is the architecture of humanity. It's what allows us to imagine before we create, to emphasize before we meet, and to hope before we see, if I should say. And maybe as a whole, that's our greatest act as a species, to create something unreal and then live by it until it becomes true. That's hard as fuck, I can't even lie to you. I don't even like humans like that, but I'm gonna give humans credit for actually doing that, because without fiction, shit, I might not even be making this video right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, it's a strange paradox. That's why I say it's ironic. And maybe, just maybe, fiction isn't humanity's escape. Maybe it's humanity's evidence. Proof that somewhere deep inside us, we never stop believing there's more to life than what we see. I know that shit hit deep, huh? My name is Splurge, and I approve this message. Peace.